there. How are you, Kathy? It's really nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about yourself because I know that it was exciting to read about your music program when I worked on the article with you. So just introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are and what you do. And you're definitely passionate about music because that comes out in your voice. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to meet you. And I appreciate your interest in my program and in me personally. I have been teaching for 39 years, which sounds like a very, very long time, in 4 different schools, the United States and the state of Iowa, and then in Central America in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. And then I fell in love with Vienna, and I have stayed here in Austria for the last 35 years. I teach middle school students and high school students. So in our school, it's grades 6 through 12. And it's an elective program, but it's also a program where in our school, the students have to have art credits for at least 2 years, for instance, in the high school, in order to graduate. So it's definitely promoted by our school that our students are very involved in the arts.
I really like that aspect because when I first started asking questions, I was really coming from an Ontario, Canada perspective. And I asked you, what is extracurricular like? How are things running? How is this working? And then you were quick to tell me it's not, it's included in the program. So explain that a little bit more. If you're a
Sure.
student in your school, it's not an extracurricular activity, so it doesn't cost money to join the choir or participate, or there might be costing involved, but it is built into the program. So explain that a little bit more because it's a little bit different for me to read that.
Sure, absolutely. The school that I teach at, the American International School here in Vienna, Austria, is a real combination of the American system of curriculum as well as the IB. We're very much a full IB school. So what happens is the school is very heavily, of course, into this IB subjects, but they also, as a school, and especially in my world, appreciate that the children, the students, really benefit from singing, from applied arts, from drama programs, and including in that is physical fitness. We have PE classes and things like that. All of these things are built into our school program so that the children can actually select if they want to be in choir, or they want to be in band, or they want to be in strings in the middle school level. And then that carries up to the high school. But in the high school level, the really great part of the music program, I'll speak specifically to my part, is that the students are, out of their 4 years of high school, they are required to have 2 complete years in some arts program. And when I grade my students, it has the same weight in this child's grade point average as the science and math and PE. So it's not a club. It's not an after-school activity. The classes in our school run for 75 minutes, which is a block schedule, 4 75-minute blocks per day. And they rotate in an 8-day rotation. So basically, I get the students every other day for 75 minutes. So you can do amazing things with students in 75 minutes. And
tell us a little bit about your choir program, because I know you're very excited about running it. I know that it has been definitely interrupted, like many of our programs, because of COVID-19, but you're looking forward to taking that choir to places and performing. And I thought that's a great opportunity. Music definitely connects the world. It doesn't hold any languages. It doesn't create boundaries. It almost connects the world together. So I think it's a wonderful way to build into our next question and finding out about your programming, about your choir and where it's going and how it's working. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yes, we had, of course, nearly 2 years of either distance learning or we could be in-person learning, but we weren't allowed to sing. And so it was, we just had a concert this past Wednesday night where for the first time, I had students on stage without their masks, and they were singing to an audience that was live but masked. And I have to say, it was thrilling. It was thrilling for all of us. There is a lot of in music, of course, that you can teach online and through distance learning. It's endless. But the real joy of being in a choir is doing that beautiful singing together with your friends. And my classes are not elite classes. Anyone who signs up comes into my class, and I teach them all from wherever they are in their experience level. And so ninth graders are in there with 12th graders, and they really learn. They learn a lot from the older kids with more experience. But COVID was definitely, I don't like to even use past tense because I still fear here in Austria we're slowly coming out of it. I was lucky enough to be able to travel with 18 singers last month to Scotland to perform in an international festival. And there were 13 international schools from all over Europe that were able to make it. And we figured there were around 48 nationalities on the stage. And I think that's very representative of my school. When I teach my classes and stand in front of my kids, I know that there are 20 nationalities going on among my 100 singers. So
Very nice. Now, I reflected as I read what the work you're doing, and I thought about multiple intelligences. And I know that music opens that door to many different intelligences. It doesn't have to be only musically inclined, right? And
absolutely.
it builds student capacity. Can you tell us a little bit more about that while you're engaging students and learning? How do you differentiate? You just touched base on it just now. You said that it doesn't matter what grade you're in, you work together, and that is a part of multiple intelligences you're building within the classroom and the school to make sure everyone can work at their best capacity, which is definitely differentiated learning and instruction, which is exciting. So build a little bit more and tell us more.
Sure. We in the music department, in choirs, we have been kind of perfecting this. That's what we have always done in our choral programs. I think what I like to think I do in an especially with great intention is to make sure that every one of the children feels that they have something to offer, that there is no hierarchy of, sure, they all know who is more experienced and maybe even who has developed their art more. But that doesn't mean that in that classroom setting, the environment is one where they feel safe to put themselves out there. And I think it's really important to not feel a competition when you're dealing with the arts. And I think I was a university athlete, so I get the competition thing, but I also get that you can't have that carry into something in the arts with it's so personal when they deliver it, and they're putting it out there, being brave for other people to hear and enjoy and critique. And I think that sets them up to do really well in a job interview, in a science presentation, maybe even with how they're dealing with their peers, if they're having some issues with their peers. I think that the most important thing is that we keep it a safe environment and continually moving forward, continually growing, not settling that this is enough, that we just sound beautiful. What else can we do? Where can we take this? And what's our responsibility to the artist that wrote this piece, or we're doing a multicultural program. What's our responsibility to the culture we're representing in this song, to be authentic? So
what's the best part about being a choir music director, teacher? That's a big role.
It is a big role, but I have to say that I come to it very naturally, I think, in that I am a kind of a group type person, wanting to put people together. And I think the best part is the happiness factor. There should be nothing surrounding singing that isn't happy. There should be nothing in music that makes them feel like, oh no, I have to go to choir class today. They should come bouncing into the room, so excited to be there. And in fact, I made sure our classroom for choir is deep red colored when the rest of the school is blues and greens, because I wanted them to have a sense of, this is a different space. This is a studio. This is artistic. We don't have bulletin boards on the wall. We have art from students on the wall, and it matters how they feel when they come in and how they go when they leave.
The climate, right? Feeling the belongingness and wanting to do the best you can and achieving that. I wanted to know more about so you're doing all these great things. I really couldn't wait to meet who you are because I've never met you before. As I read your work, I wanted to know how, when you get closer to retirement or leaving the profession, what mark would you like to leave on this world? Starting from Vienna.
Yeah.
But teachers, I think, make a huge impact in their students' lives. And I think this program will help us connect teachers globally so they can understand, what mark do you personally, and it doesn't have to be a big mark or a little mark, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be remembered as? Or what do you want to say, okay, this is why I did what I did for 39 years, you said so far, and many
Yeah.
more, I hope. But
Yeah, a few more. A few more. The thing about legacy, as we maybe call it, is I don't really feel like at the end of my career, I have 3 more years to teach. And after these 3 years, I don't think that that's a point where there needs to be a mention of a legacy. If it wasn't clear every year as I taught, every graduating class, every child that left our school, every person that came through my doorway, that's the legacy. I don't think I, for instance, know that to be true because I hear from people that are now 30 years old, or, whatever age they are, and they talk about what a difference it made. And I remember them. I don't It was not a situation. I've had, thousands of students, but so many of them really leave a huge impact on me, and I hope me leaving that on them, to the point where we've shared something. We've shared our art, our experiences. We've traveled, to many, many countries with festivals and things. And I think it's a little bit like an athletic coach in that way, that the experiences you share are really what shape you, and they shape your school. If we wouldn't have this in our school, I think we would be very academically driven in another direction instead of having that balance. So I hope my legacy, if we can call it that, or my impression, will be that it isn't about right now, but it's been about the journey. And that for so many years, I've given my best. I've given freely. My free time was never my free time. Kids were always in there for extra lessons and auditioning for things, or they want to go off to college and they need a recording of something. And so we get together and we do that. And I think together you really become close through your music. And I think that's probably the most important thing a teacher can do, is show you care, and that the time you spent together mattered to you, and because it obviously does, or you wouldn't do this. So.
Absolutely right. Time flies in teaching. And I think it's important to embrace every single day. There are good days and bad days, but if you embrace it, it's the journey that matters. That totally resonated with me because that is totally who I'm about, what I'm about. It's not one day, it's not one accomplishment, it's the journey of getting there, because it really does matter. You change your views, you grow, you learn, you question things, but who you are gets molded. It's never, okay, this is who I am. You're constantly adapting. And I think that's really valuable insight. What is it like teaching in Vienna? So I came from a very outside perspective looking in. My connection to Vienna would be, I think I wrote in the article, I love the sound of music. And when
Yeah.
you said music, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I spent hours of my childhood and even now watching the music and the production, and that resonates with the country for me because I've never been to Vienna. And from an outside perspective, growing up in a little island of Sri Lanka, watching the musical, that was my connection through music, through a very awesome movie, through a very difficult historical time period the
Mhm.
movie takes place in, that brought people together through music. So, what is it like teaching in Vienna? What's the country like? What are the people like? What's the school like? Tell us.
Yeah, it's a very complex question, of course, because there's so much beautiful music in the city of Vienna. Sometimes it can be difficult to have a school in Vienna without feeling the pressure of, oh my gosh, we're in Vienna, our music program has to be great. Well, a lot of times our kids will find, especially if they speak German, they will find a club or a choir or something in the city and then choose not to participate in the school one. So, as much as you'd think, oh my gosh, it must be so easy to put it all together in Vienna, it's almost like there's too much in Vienna at times. I think that living in Austria feels very healthy to me. The country is so conscientious of climate, of good water that we drink, the food that we eat. Um, I met my husband, who's from New York City, here teaching at the school, and we raised three children here that are now 25, 23, and 21, so grown up. But I was only going to stay for 2 years, but I started performing in the city personally, and it really grabbed me. I felt like I grew as a musician, and so therefore I was a better teacher for the kids. Um, I think that I think that the only downside of living in Vienna might be that people here think that music is sort of an elite thing and not really for everyone. And I think that that is something I've had, especially with Austrian students, which is now, I think we have about 30% of our school is Austrian nationals. So, it's a big deal to have to change their mindset that, yes,
Mhm.
you can do this too, and that it's not just an elite thing, but you could go to 15, 20 different performances any given night and be able to get tickets, for it almost last minute. So that's pretty special too, I
That's
think.
very special. I think that's wonderful. Just to wrap up, is there anything you wanted to share that I haven't talked about or you haven't spoken about before we say goodbye to each other? Tell
Thank
us, is there
you.
anything that I
The only
haven't
thing
touched base on?
The only thing that I would say is the importance of the rest of your school.
Mhm.
I think without Nick DeForest and Andy Harrison and people that are in our events office helping to coordinate, right down to the custodians helping put up the risers, to teachers coming to your performances, or letting kids out when you're trying to combine rehearsals. If your whole school isn't behind you, you have huge obstacles in just trying to do that extra job to try to make it work. And I think that also in this COVID time, if it wasn't for our school taking a chance and going ahead and scheduling a trip, by the
Mhm.
time we really knew if we could do it, it would have been too late to book those trips. So parents and schools are taking a chance in trying to keep us safe and trying to give us a bit of our life back, at every chance. And so I'd just like to give kind of a shout out to, this my colleagues and the parents and just the administration of our school. It's really from the top down, may I say, that we have a sense of cohesiveness or caring. And if you get the sense that your school has your back and they're there for you, then there's nothing that can stop you. So I think
That's
that's what I
wonderful.
have.
I think that's a really good point too, to know that it's a team effort, right?
Yeah,
One
for sure.
person cannot make the production happen. One person can lead the production and give the time and the efforts, but it's a whole community impact is it's valued by the school. If it's not valued, it's not going to progress very well because there's going to be lots of obstacles in the way. So that is a very good point you brought out to any educator going into international schools or working in their own schools. Music does connect the community. And I think it's a really important aspect to think about, because if you can bring people together and sing and perform, give them the opportunity to listen, that's amazing. So I think that's a wonderful point you made about having everybody else support your program, because it's not just your program, it's everybody else's program. It's a community school. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you.
That was wonderful. That's all I wanted to ask you and see how you wanted to progress with the interview. I was very excited to hear that you're going to go perform in New York City. Is that correct?
We are, in fact. Yes. This started quite a few years ago. We were performing in a beautiful hall in Vienna, and the Distinguished Concerts International New York, they seem to cruise on YouTube to see what pieces people are performing. And they came upon our choir, and we were doing Carmina Burana, one little part for a Chinese sharing we were doing there. And they invited us to come to New York City to join a lot of other choirs performing that work in its entirety with an orchestra. And we have done it 5 times, which is pretty amazing to me. Every other year we try to go. And this year, our school put on the first part of Handel's Messiah. And that is the work that we will be scheduled to perform in the American Thanksgiving timing, so November 22nd or 3rd, something like that. And this is not a part of our regular studies. This is totally optional, and it's in the 4-day holiday, so we're not missing a lot of school. We'll miss 1 day. But because I also teach fine arts at the school, we will visit the Museum of Modern Art, and we will go and do some sightseeing. The students will rehearse for about 7 hours in total, and then they will perform in Carnegie Hall to a usually sold out audience, which is a very big deal. And our families try to go and watch and be a part of it in New York. So,
and I thought that was a great connection to your home country, right? To go back and be able to share what you're doing in Vienna. And I had to highlight that because I actually did YouTube it, because I don't get to see what you're doing. So having that door open virtually and putting a performance on YouTube, that is taking a chance, but I think it's so worth it, because that gave me a sense of understanding what you're doing, because I couldn't just read it. I had to watch it and see what you're doing and what it's about. So I wish your school, your performance the best this November for Thanksgiving as you perform. And it was really lovely touching base with you, and I wish you all the very best. Stay connected.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. Thank you.
No problem. And then Mr. Nick DeFrost is the Assistant Director of the Events Office at your school.
Yes,
that's who I first touched base with. So I also like to mention a special thank you for connecting the two of us to get this article written and produced and finalized so others can watch. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Have a great rest of your school year.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching and learning with us at SchoolRubric with educators from across the globe. For more access to articles, magazines, podcasts, live episodes, our international school directory, courses, and more, visit us at schoolrubric.org. Thank you.